Okay, you're all set to go, Mr. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you very much, Kelly. Good evening, members of the public and staff and members of council. Welcome to the public meeting of July 6th, 2021. Can I get someone to move to open the meeting? Moved by Councillor McDonnell, second by Councillor Lang. All those in favor? Meeting is open. Thank you very much. The approval of the agenda. I believe we are going to amend the agenda as presented, Ms. Haley.
Yes, Mr. Deputy Mayor.
Okay, what are we adding to the agenda?
We're adding a public meeting for a proposed temporary use amendment to request permission for a container storage on a subject property.
Okay, not a problem. So noted. All those in favor of approving the amended agenda? Motion is carried. Thank you very much. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest? Seeing none, we'll move on to number 4, presentations and delegations. Proposed zoning amendment, Ms. Haley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll just share my screen. Ms. Compo, do you mind enabling me to share my screen, please?
Yes, sorry.
Thank you. No, it's okay.
You should be good to go.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so good evening, everyone. We have 2 items on our agenda this evening. One's for a proposed zoning bylaw amendment, as well as for a temporary use bylaw. So just to review the rules of engagement this evening, for the members of the public that are participating by Zoom or by phone, you will be permitted to speak to the respective application following my presentation. Prior to speaking, please state your name and address for the record. I'm going to read required wording under the Ontario Planning Act for these applications. This is a public meeting under Section 34 of the Ontario Planning Act. Any person may attend the public meeting and/or make written or verbal representation either in support of or in opposition to the proposed zoning bylaw amendment. If a person or public body does not make oral submissions at this public meeting or make written submissions to the Council of the Township of South Glengarry before the bylaw is decided upon, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision of the council to the Ontario Land Tribunal, also known as OLT. If a person or public body does not make oral submissions at this public meeting or make written submissions to the Council of the Township of South Glengarry before the bylaw is decided upon, the person or public body may not be added as a party to the hearing of an appeal before the LOT unless there are reasonable grounds to do so. So I have a presentation for our first amendment this evening. This application is known as the Matter Zoning Bylaw Amendment. It's located at the east half of Lot 20, Concession 3, south side of the Raisin River, in the geographic township of Charlottenburg, now in South Glengarry. This is a key map of the property. I'll just try and help orient everyone. This is on Glenbrook Road. Glenbrook Road runs north-south. This line here, definitive line, is known as the Peanut Line. And then this is the area of the property that we're talking about that's highlighted in black. The applicant recently applied for a severance to dispose of the surplus dwelling to the farming operation. And the severance was conditionally approved with several conditions, one being the requirement to rezone the retained land to reduce the minimum lot area and to prohibit residential construction. This is what the severance application looks like. You'll see that it mimics the area that was previously identified in the black area. And so this is the severed portion, and the blue area is known to be the retained portion. The purpose of the amendment is to rezone the subject property from agriculture and natural hazard to agricultural exception 29 and natural hazard to reduce the minimum lot area from 20 hectares to 4.47 hectares and to prohibit residential construction. The subject property is vacant and it's currently being farmed, as well as the surrounding property is owned by the applicant is being farmed as well. And if this amendment is approved, no residential construction would be permitted and the land should be, continue to be used for farming purposes. The subject property is currently designated agricultural resource in the county official plan, and the proposed amendment conforms to the official plan and the provincial policy statement. No written comments have been received to date from members of the public. I've not received any calls either. And the zoning amendment application will be subject to a decision of council in the future. I suspect it will go to our next meeting on July 19th. And a staff report, including a recommendation, will be brought at that time. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you very much for that report, Ms. Haley. Councillor Jaworski.
Thank you, Ms. Haley. If you could just refresh my memory, am I correct that this is sort of a standard amendment when the retained lands that are going to be kept for agricultural purposes, when they're less than 20 hectares? Is that why we're going through this process?
Yeah, so there's two components. One, the provincial policy statement requires retained land to be prohibited for residential construction in the future. And we can do that by method of our choice. But because we also have to reduce the minimum lot area in this time, we're actually incorporating the prohibition of residential construction at the same time.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions of members of the committee? Seeing none, Councillor Martinell?
Do you need a mover to move this
Yes,
forward?
please. Yeah.
I'd be happy to move this.
Oh, yeah, wait, no, this is just for information purposes.
Yes.
My apologies. This is kind of feels like a committee of adjustment meeting. So thank you for the report, Ms. Haley. Moving on to item 4B.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen.
Sorry.
So are you able to see my screen at all?
Yes, we are.
Okay, I'm just going to scroll down to the key map. So we have a parcel of property that's located along, excuse me, the South Service Road, east of Lancaster, east of Wesley's Point. This is Wesley's Point in this location, and Craig Key is east of the subject property. So this fairly large parcel of property is currently vacant land, and the applicant is proposing to have a container storage brought to this property. As council and the public are aware, container storages are only permitted in industrial or agricultural properties. And that's really meant for industrial uses for shipping or agricultural uses for storage purposes. Although containers are becoming much more popular these days with people wanting to use them for other purposes, such as sheds, storages, things like that. So this applicant approached the municipality to determine if there was something they could do to accommodate their storage in the meantime until they choose to develop the property. And they are proposing to build a single detached dwelling on the property. In this location, it's framed by a private road to the west that comes along here that's known as Nados Point. And so they'll be able to access this property. And the property owner is proposing to place the storage container in an area that's not very visible. And the reason for the storage container is because they currently don't live in Ontario. They don't live in South Glengarry. And they're wanting to keep their lawn mowing equipment and lawn maintenance equipment in the storage container until such time they build. We have notified all the abutting property owners, as well as the Raisin Region Conservation Authority. I've not received any comments from the abutting property owners or any concerns to date. And we did receive comments from the Raisin Region Conservation Authority letting us know they had no concerns with the placement of the container, as well as no concerns with it remaining at that time for a period of 3 years. Because if the temporary use bylaw is approved, it's allowed to be there up to 3 years, and council can extend accordingly. Also, we worked with the applicant, and the applicant chose a location that would not negatively impact the canal, the water, as well as the floodplain. So what will happen moving forward at our next council meeting, I'll be writing a detailed staff report, providing more visual tools in terms of where the container will be on the property, the length of container that will give council and the public more information. But at this point, I've not received any comments from the public. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
I do have a question, Madam Chair, or Mrs. Haley, my apologies. Lots of meetings lately. This approval, so if we approve this at a later date, this is just for information purposes this evening. If council chooses to approve this amendment, it's not guaranteed that in 3 years they will be permitted to keep the structure there, the temporary structure. Like they could, if they want to keep it there, they have to ask for it to be renewed. And the council that day, if they choose to, could say, no, we don't want you to have it. Am I
That is
correct?
correct. Yes, yes, Mr. Chair, that is correct. So what will happen is a formal application would have to be made in advance of the 3-year expiry date if this is approved. And it would be up to council to make the decision at that time if they wish to extend it or not. Council does not have to extend it for a period of 3 years either. They could do a 1-year extension if they wanted to.
Okay.
In situations like these, we work with the individuals to determine their needs to make sure the timeframe is appropriate for when their development is proposed.
Okay, perfect. Are there any other questions of the members of committee? Or I guess of staff, really. It's not really a committee. Okay, that being said, I do see Mr. The applicant on the meeting, and I'm wondering if he or she has a question to add.
No, yeah, hello.
Hello.
Yes, this is Nadarpur. I'm the applicant actually. And I was the one who asked for that. It's just basically because the land is quite large. It's almost 9 acres. And actually, you cannot use a lawnmower. It has to be a tractor, and not a big, large tractor, but medium-sized tractors that to maintain the land in order to keep basically the weeds and everything down. So this was the purpose of that. And also, I have already did contact the Raisin Conservatory authorities, and I have asked for a permit for a landfill. It has been approved already too. And so it basically gives us time till the time comes to apply for a construction permit there. That's the main reason for that. Also, I would like to, one last question I have. Is there a minimum size of lot and a maximum size of lot in that region, which is considered as residential or agricultural? I mean, this is quite huge and long property. And I have asked already, I know Ms. Haley already answered me with respect to subdivision of that. Is there a way one could apply for that, dividing it only in 3? I'm not talking about multiple. 3, maybe allocating 1 to each of my children, you see? That's why separately. Are there any possibilities?
3, yeah, go ahead, Ms. Salem.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So as you and I have discussed previously, we have a policy in our official plan that requires all new lots that can be created to be fronting on an open public road. Unfortunately, with the shape of your parcel of property, you have a very small or narrow frontage onto the South Service Road. And it means that if lots were permitted to be created, they would have to be created fronting on the private road. And a private road is a road that is not owned by the municipality or maintained by the municipality. And that's why new lot creation is not permitted on those roads. So at this point, it wouldn't meet the policy to allow for that. In order to do that, as we discussed, you'd have to do, an official plan amendment to determine if it's possible to permit development on a private road that we currently don't maintain or have any ownership over. So we can discuss that offline again, Mr. Nadarpur. It's just something that currently does not meet our policies.
Okay, no, it will be interesting to know if there is a possibility, because I do realize what you told me, but also when I purchased, then I realized that I had 1,565 feet of a right of passage on the private road, and I have already talked to the people at the Nados Road with their president and the owner of the original owner, and nobody has rejected. And I have been trying to be basically being respectful of the use of that, and I told them to cut me in with respect to usage of that road, and they were all very happy and receptive. So I just thought maybe if there are so many houses on that private road, why I wouldn't have been able to have, let's say, 3 lots for that. It's just to allocate each to one of the kids. That's why.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you very much for your questions, and please follow up with Mrs. Haley for further discussion on that one. And we'll just kind of stick to what was requested for this evening. Thank you again, sir, for your comments. Okay, so that was the final one of the meeting. Are there any further comments of staff or council?
No,
Seeing
thank you, Mr. Chair.
Can I get someone to move to adjourn? Moved by Councillor McDonnell, second by Councillor Jaworski. All those in favor? Meeting is adjourned at 6:16 p.m. We will see you at 7 o'clock for our regular council meeting. Thank you.